What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Podcast, a sequel where we discuss the good, the bad, and the continued. My name is Joseph.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Manira.
And on this week's episode, we'll be talking about a movie that is having its 25th anniversary. That would be next Friday. But before we get into that, as always, we will start with the 1995 classic, in my opinion, Friday, written by Ice Cube and DJ Pooh.
DJ
A $3.5 million budget, made $27.4 million in the box office. There is no cinema score for this one, but there is for next Friday, so we'll get into that when we get into it. I really enjoy this film. It's a movie I've seen a bunch of times, and Ice Cube has said it too. When they made this film, their idea for it was to show the hood in a fun way. A lot of like old LA gangster movies are always about death and ODs and stuff like that, you know, Blood in, Blood out,
Boys in the Hood,
et cetera, et cetera. So this film introduced like kind of the daily life in the hood that doesn't result all the time in death. I mean, obviously there is a lot of violence in this film. There's drugs in this film, obviously, but they did show the funner side of everyday life in LA. So yeah, I always enjoyed this movie. At one point, Chris Tucker was going to be Smokey. I got that wrong. Chris Rock was going to be Smokey.
I was like,
my bad.
I was
I
like,
got the
wait,
wrong
what?
Chris's. Yeah, I always do that. Chris Rock was going to be Smokey because Chris Tucker's audition was really bad the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
So he's struggling in his first audition. The studio wanted it to be Chris Rock. Obviously, SNL. They thought he was going to be a big plug. They wanted him in the movie. Didn't work out. Chris Rock came back, auditioned again. They gave it to him. So.
Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker. Fuck me.
There was another person, I forget who it was, but
Tommy Davidson.
yeah, because
That was who the studio wanted.
They wanted someone, and then they were like, "No, we want a bigger name," so they ended up like settling, I think, for Chris Tucker. Or maybe they wanted Chris Rock and Tommy Davidson, but they're like, "No, we want Chris Tucker."
Yeah.
I know. Well, yeah, I was
forget.
like, I think.
Wasn't this Chris Tucker's breakout role, if I'm wrong? Wrong? Or his first big movie?
So the
It was
reason
like his biggest movie, yeah.
At the time, yeah,
At the time,
because
yeah.
the way Cube found him was during a comedy special.
This is Def
Yeah.
Jam comedy.
Yes,
Ugh.
and that's where Ice Cube had seen him, and that's why he was always pushing for him to be in the film. The studio was against it, but then he ended up killing his last audition to get the role. At one point, this film was also going to be in black and white to save money on the budget. So yeah, thoughts and opinions on this one. Let's roll with it.
I just want to say, so at one point in my life, the phrase "Bye Felicia" was constantly something that came out of my mouth, and I didn't realize that it was from this movie. And I think at one point Joseph was like, "You do realize where you're getting "Bye Felicia" from?" I was like, "No, I just heard it and it just stuck with me." So he's like, "You know it's from a movie," and I was like, "Never heard of this movie. Didn't even know that this was a thing." So we finally sit down and we watch it, and then I feel like I've still kept saying "Bye Felicia" since then. But I didn't know this movie was a thing until you made me watch it. But I had a great time watching it. I didn't hate it. I didn't necessarily love it, think it was the greatest film ever, but I had a decent time watching it. Made me laugh, made me chuckle.
It's a very quotable movie. There's a lot of stuff in this film that people still quote. I think the legacy it left behind is pretty significant, especially still to this day. Like the Bye Felicia, Debo, like the chain, all that stuff, the bike.
I feel like with both films too, like there's certain things that I've said in my life and I was like, oh my god, it's from this movie.
Yeah, it happened to us too because we were watching it, and he's like looking for the milk in the refrigerator, and he's like, every time I'm in the kitchen,
you in the kitchen.
And Marissa just looked at me and she goes, "That's why you always say that?" I'm like,
Well, yeah, because every time like we are in the kitchen, the cats always come into the kitchen to like, because they're like, "Oh, you're gonna feed me."
Feeding time.
Yeah.
And he goes, "How come every time?" And I'm
every
like,
time I was like,
and I was just like, "That's what that's from." Because I've never seen this movie either. Like I knew about it, but I've never like. I don't know, like I just never sat down, I guess, and watched it. But and I've never been like, I know "Bye Felicia," but I don't think I've ever really said "Bye Felicia."
It was a thing that was...
I know it was a thing because I know people at like work would say it all the time, and I was just kind of like, okay, like I just figured it was from something like a movie or something, but I've never been one to say "Bye Felicia." I just don't.
It's terrible.
I feel like it was just one of those trends that I just was like, nah, I'm okay.
like it popped off again like a few years ago. I feel like I don't know if it was like a video that's resurfaced again, but then people started saying it. Like I know the actress became kind of popular because of her son. He ended up becoming like a decent football player in college.
Oh,
So I think
interesting.
that's what it kept coming back again. It's like, oh, look at her, look at the Krakow now has a
Yeah,
football
it's
player. Yeah.
Felicia's-
So people started making the By Felicia thing again. But yeah, this movie, phenomenal cast by the way. Another Bernie Mac movie again. Once again, one of the greatest.
R.I.P.
Another mention for Bernie. Debo, another guy that's
Yeah.
sadly not here anymore, right?
Yeah, he passed away a
Yes.
few years ago. Tiny Zeus Lister Jr.
That's his name.
Yeah, that's his name, his actor name. And it's funny, it's like so funny that we're talking about this movie and the fact that I haven't seen it because I actually met him when I was working at a restaurant like 12 years ago. And like he was just in like our restaurant, he was just eating and somebody had mentioned him and like he's a huge dude. Like, and I don't know if I have a photo anymore because I used to have a photo with him where I'm just standing next to him, but it's like you're just like, so big. But for I mean, like as like if you want to call it like he looks mean, he just has like that mean look, especially in this movie. Like nicest guy ever, like just super chill. Like anybody who wanted to take a picture with him, he's like, yeah, sure thing. Like let's like you want to do up against this wall, and like even at one point he like picked my manager up off the floor as like a joke. It was really funny, but yeah, he was such a nice guy at the time that I met him. So I don't know. When I heard he passed, I was like, oh, that's sad because he was just really nice.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that topic, a lot of people in this movie are no longer.
Oh
with us.
Yeah.
we did a deep dive of like all the people that have passed and like
Oh,
from, like
really?
strokes. I think like cancer.
Kidney stuff.
Yeah,
all
like
kind-
kidney
all kinds
stuff.
of
I think the one girl,
diseases and
the one girl
things,
had
yeah.
like kidney issues. Like there's a lot of stuff.
And I want to say this was Michael Clark Duncan's first movie. It's somebody, but he's in the scene, the flashback where what's his nose comes back for his bike,
Oh.
and they're all playing dice. He's one of
Yes.
the guys just playing dice
I
next to Chris
totally
Tucker.
missed him.
Yeah, he's just
being
just
in
there
that.
in the background.
Oh shit!
I don't know if that. I don't quote me on it.
No, I think you're
but
right.
It's either him or somebody. Or
I
Ving
feel like I
Rhames or
remember
something.
seeing
I didn't
him,
know
yeah,
that.
as uncredited. Oh, I didn't even recognize him
Damn.
in the flashback. That's so
I'll watch it
funny.
again. Oh,
Yeah.
like- yeah, but this movie has so many funny moments. When he's getting the cereal and there's no milk, and he's just like, just put water in it. Like,
Don't throw it away. Put water in that bitch.
in it.
God.
It's the way the movie starts with the people knocking on the door. That's something that happens still to this fucking day. And I like the old lady just cussing at him.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, all right,
Come on, sister.
Yeah.
I like a scene where Chris Tucker is in the kitchen with him, and then the dad is like, "Get out of my house and don't slam my door." And Chris Tucker just with both hands just wham! slams
Yeah, I wrote
shit.
that. I was gonna say. I was like, I feel
Cracks
like I
me
wrote that
up,
down.
yeah.
The scene where the bike scene is always funny to me when he was running to the car. The way he runs to the car.
Oh, the arms.
Yeah, he's like,
When he takes the chains.
Yeah, dude. I love that, man. Or when they break into the house next door with Debo, and the first thing Smokey says is like, I got mind control over Debo. And it just like immediately just succumbs to whatever
Yeah.
Debo wants to do. Also, the dad just giving them shit. The whole movie is just about Craig getting fired on his day off, which is, we end up finding, I think it's like the end credit scene, or is it before the end credit scene?
It's the end credit scene.
Where-
You see him with the boxes.
The boxes like
yeah.
running and stuff, dude.
Yeah.
There's so many good characters in this film, so I've always thought it's a hilarious movie that has lasted the test of time so far, and I've always had a great time watching it.
Yeah, of the series, I want to say it's one of the one if not the strongest one in the series,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
in my opinion.
I've only seen the first two, so I can only talk about the first two, but it's probably my favorite of the two. I started the third one. I didn't finish it yet, but one day I'll finish it.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next holiday season. But I didn't. I'm conflicted about the second one, but we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
But the first one, when I first watched it, I think it was like 6-ish years ago, something like that. But I had a great time rewatching it again. But I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more the second time I watched it than the first time, because I forgot a lot of what happened. But it was a good time. I had a great time watching it.
Oh.
Arisa?
Oh. I had a great time with this movie. I love like the dad, Mr. Jones. I think he's just
was
really
great.
funny. Like just like him eating and
Yeah, the way he eats the
like
grapes.
it's just so funny. Yeah, and he had like that carries on through like the second one of him like eating like that. So I just think he's really funny. I like their family dynamic a lot. I feel like we'll get into it, but like I feel like it's sorely kind of missing in the second one.
Right.
Yeah, I think I took like a deep dive on like hood films, which is what this is like classified as. And I just like went down this rabbit hole of like it's a very 1990s like film genre. Like it typically deals with like African American or Hispanic like cultures. And like you said, like it's very typically there. It's like gangs and drugs and murder and all that stuff. And they wanted to have like a friendlier approach, if you will, to like with this movie. And like Ice Cube and DJ Pooh both wrote this with like inspiration from their own lives. And I feel like this movie honestly is fairly well written. Like I know that Ice Cube is obviously like he is a rapper musician.
Yep.
It's like I don't know if we want to
Yeah.
specify. Yeah, I was like exactly, but and I know he obviously writes his own music, so I mean I don't see that that's too far off. So from that, I feel like for this being like his, I don't think this is not his first film, right? Because he did Boys in the Hood,
Yes.
or maybe
Yes.
even one before that. I was
No,
like,
because I think he's wearing the clothes that he wore in.
in Boys in the Hood.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe. And
Yeah,
then
but-
also, I think his son, Ice Cube's son,
Mhm.
in Straight Outta Compton, wears the same clothes as well.
Yes.
Oh, that's fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really recognize that.
Yeah.
But I
Um,
think this is the first one that he wrote. He started
Yes.
in Boys in the Hood.
Oh,
but this
okay,
is the
that's
first
right.
one that
Okay,
he
yeah.
wrote.
But yeah, I think fairly well written. I like the counteraction that like I mean I was thinking it before I even did like the deep dive on this movie and like their whole reason for writing it this way, that I was just like this is a good counteraction because obviously there's more that goes on in like the day-to-day life of the hood, if you will. So I mean it's kind of nice to counteract the violence, even though obviously we end up getting violence with Debo at the end. But yeah, I had a great time. I liked Ice Cube's straight demeanor up against like Chris Tucker's kind of, I'll call it borderline annoying comedy. Just because like there are times where I'm just like, oh, he's so annoying, but then it like he'll get a joke in or like it'll kind of like stop, and then I'm like, okay, like it simmers back down. Like I'm like a hot boiling pot of water, and then like he'll stop, and then I'm just okay. I got enough of you. But what was it? What was I completely lost where my thing. I was gonna mention the fourth wall break that they do in this movie, and Ice Cube does a few nods that I think are really fun. Like he'll just kind of like look over, but I kind of don't see like the need for Chris Tucker's at the end, like unless you guys feel differently, because at the end he kind of just like, I'm just kidding, man. Like, and he says it like right to the camera, and like I know that they like obviously they did things for a reason, but I just personally I didn't see the need for him to do it. Like Ice Cube, it was fun, but because it's mostly his story.
It's his story, yeah.
it's mostly his
Yeah.
story. So I was just kind of confused as to why we got Chris Tucker doing that. I feel like that was kind of, I don't know.
Well, I know a lot of this movie is like ad lib. Like a lot of lines they
Yeah.
just kind of threw out there. Like most of Chris Tucker's are. So I feel like they were just had a good time
Yeah.
filming him.
Well, and that's why they wanted him, is because of that ad lib and the
yeah,
and
his,
everything.
his comedic prowess.
yeah. Well, no, and he is. I do find him fun. Like I find him funny in all of the other like movies like that he's been in. Obviously, like I love like I'll just put on Rush Hour.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like why not?
Yeah.
You know.
The
But
Fifth Element.
Yes.
oh, you love Fifth Element.
Dude, he's
Don't
great.
understand.
So great.
I think one of the things that I enjoyed about this movie is the chemistry between Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. I think it worked very, very well, and I think it's one of the elements that I wish transferred over into the second one. I think that's what was missing in the sequel for me, but I think in the first one, like overall, like the actor chemistry between a lot of like the cast members, I think it was very well done and very well written, and I think it worked for this movie, especially because I think one of the things that I read was that they filmed the entire movie in like 20 days. So I think for a short amount of time that you're spending together in like 20 days, but you get like this great chemistry, and a lot of it was like ad-libbed, I think it worked very, very well for them for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of the interactions between all the characters, honestly. Like between Tucker and Big Worm. I love that scene with the ice cream truck. He just pushes the kids to the side and he tries to like count the money but flip it to make it seem like it is actually the amount that he owes Big Worm, but it's really not. When they're hiding in the back of that car when they're about to do the drive-by, and he's just like praying, I don't want to die, man. I'll quit weed. Like I'm done. Like, but like obviously we know it's just been scared shitless at that point.
Yeah.
I also do enjoy Ice Cube and his father's interaction about
Yeah.
him not wanting don't use the gun, live to
Yeah.
fight another day, which is
Yeah.
something like in LA they always go for the gun. It's you just fight, and if you lose, you get up. And I did like that tone being set from the dad's point of view.
Yeah.
It's like him walking in when he has a gun, just being disappointed. I think that added to the actual fight that happens at the end.
Yeah.
So I really loved their interaction and their relationship in the film as well.
Yeah. Yeah, like written, it's just written really well. You get like a heartfelt, and then also just like the comedic, kind of timing throughout everything. And I think it's just, it feels so genuine. Like it feels like these are real people, like living real, like their real life. Like this is really his family. This is really his friend. This is like really a situation that you go through, which obviously like they took from their real life. So like it makes it a little bit easier, but that's kind of nice to see that like it's just it seemed just so fluid the whole movie, and just watching it, and like I had a great time. Soundtrack, I know we talked about it, like you said it earlier before
Yeah.
we even started, and I was just like, yeah, that soundtrack
Great soundtrack.
is
yeah.
like it's amazing. So Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Two Life Crew, Rick James, Cypress Hill, Isley Brothers, like
Amazing.
Yeah.
like a whole
It's a good soundtrack.
it's banging
Yeah.
right from the get-go too. Like just immediately you're like, all right, get into this.
And I much prefer where it takes place over the second one. We'll get into that when we
Yes.
get into it.
Yeah.
But I like the shot of the street, the interactions with the neighbors, the different point of views, and then them just chilling on the porch. Even though they're just chilling, there adds so much to that film because that's what we kind of did. You know,
Yeah.
we just hung out there.
Yeah.
And then Smokey trying to get him to smoke weed the whole time, like the pure pressure of getting him to do. And then once he finally does, he's just tripping out. And he's trying to make Kool-Aid inside the kitchen. He's like, "You want sugar?" You have one thing, you have the other thing, and just
Yeah.
it's funny because it carries on from with the dad not having the milk and stuff. So there's like little things that they add to the film that carries on throughout the scenes.
It's very fluid. Yeah, it's just very like the callbacks and
Mm-hmm.
everything, or like things that they mentioned before that happened later. And
Yeah.
So it's like I said, very.
I
well
will
done.
say the end scene of Smokey talking to the camera. I wish they would have taken the dude with the boxes and put that at the end instead of adding
Yeah,
that
I
at the
think
post
that would have
credit
been
scene.
like a good wrap up.
Yeah, it would have been funny. Like the whole fight ended, they're all going home, and then you just see that scene. That would have been like, oh shit, that's how he got fired.
So wait, so Craig did take the boxes? It was the
No.
other dude?
No, it was not Red, but
No, it's
was it that crackhead?
Is it that guy that
Yes.
stops by?
It's the guy that like falls in the liquor store.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm suing.
Oh,
He's like,
it
but we
was
can settle out of
him?
court if you just give me like a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
It was him.
Oh.
He's the one that took the boxes.
Damn, that's shitty.
Yeah. But I wish
That's
it
what I
was
thought.
him.
I was like, is it? I was like, I feel like it's somebody else on the like, but I didn't see the after credit. I didn't see the after credit scene.
Yeah, that would have been a way better ending. I feel like I would have closed it
Yeah.
in such a better way than just
Yeah.
having Smokey talk to the camera.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm
like-
just kidding, man.
yeah. It was very like, wait, what?
Cut that out. I was like, cut that out.
No, it was very like tongue in cheek
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And it was like not really needed. I think with this movie, the thing that is, we'll talk about it in the second one, but the major thing for me that's lacking is that like sense of community. Like everybody knows everybody. That's kind of what the way that those neighborhoods are. Like when him and Debo get in the fight, all the neighbors come out and they're all like a part of it. Like when they're chilling on the stoop and they're just watching the neighbors across the street, they're like, oh, hold on, did anything happen when I was gone? No. And the little guy's throwing all the clothes on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to that kind of filmmaking, so to
Yeah.
speak. Like those types of movies is the sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though we're all in this situation, we're all in it together. We know all our neighbors and things
Mhm.
like that. And I like that. And in
Yeah.
the second one, that's very lacking.
Yes, it's
But in
not
the
there.
third one, they kind of bring it back.
They brought it back in the third one.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. I haven't
yeah.
seen the third one either. So.
Yeah,
The
'cause
third
I-
one adds more to what the first one had. Second one lost it, I felt like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I feel like in the second one, like the neighbors and everybody, they know each other, but they don't like each other. Where like in this one, like they may not like each other, they may like each other, but you kind of get like this sense of like even the guy, their next door neighbor, when he's like, man, like, what did I tell you? Get off the grass. Like, he's still kind of like
Stanley.
nice about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
he's-
they still know.
like they're still yeah, he's not like fuck you, I'm calling the police kind of thing. Like
No.
they fucking break into his house and like I feel like nothing becomes of that. It's just like
No, yeah, like they just robbed him.
they
and
just
then, like,
straight rob him and then like nothing happens.
yeah, but like, and that I think it's just he's kind of used to it at that point. I feel like he was just kind of like whatever.
It's just kind
like,
of where we live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel like didn't he have like the gate thing on like his window, and they still
Yeah, they popped
like,
the-
they
he
still
pops
popped
it
it
off,
open.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, but even the Bernie Mac scene, like they knew him already, and like they already know Bernie's like being full of shit at the point because he's even asking for a little bit of a hit, and he's just like, get out of here, man! Like,
Yeah.
we don't want you here. Like, just leave. And Bernie just like looking around everywhere. So you do have that sense like this is like an everyday type of lifestyle that they are living. So I think that added to, like you said, the community of them all being in it together.
Yeah.
Because they're just all dealing with the cheese met happening in the neighborhood. So
Does the sister come back? Does Regina Hall or no Regina King? Sorry, Regina King, right?
Regina King.
Does she come back in the third one?
I don't recall.
I don't
know
remember.
Their step aunt is there
Yes.
because the brother, Ice Cube's dad and his
Yeah.
brother open a business together.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
barbecue.
the barbecue
Yeah.
But and then you meet their grandma.
Oh, the one that they hit. Like so good to make you want to smack your mama.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a very funny scene. We'll get to that when we get to it. But like after the commercial and they actually show the business and the grandma's like scarred for life from it. Like grandma's just like, ah! Like she's gonna get hit again. Always cracks me up. But yeah,
So-
I like and one last thing that I'll say is like when they were what's the director? Is it F. Gary Gary?
F. Gary
F.
Gary.
Gary
Gray
Gray.
Gary- oh, yeah.
I wrote
F. Gary Gary.
Gary Gray.
Oh,
Oh,
Gary
Gary
Gray.
Gray.
Gary.
Gary.
That's what I kept saying. It was like
Yeah,
Gary
I kept
Gary.
thinking. I didn't.
Yeah, that's what I
read
wrote
it.
down.
I think I didn't
Don't
have
know why I
my
wrote that
glasses
down.
on.
And I think the reason he ended up directing this film is because he did a lot of music videos
Yes,
for
this
Ice
was his
Cube.
first film that he
Yeah.
directed.
And it was like their way of making a Clerks. It was their Clerks, is what
Yes.
they said.
Yeah.
So them wanting to do it in black and white kind of adds to that, and also when they were doing the flashbacks.
Yeah,
and it
that's
being
why
in
those
black
were-
and white is kind of silly.
And I will
Yeah.
say, like, now that you mentioned that, like, they were trying to make like their version of Clerks, like in comparison, because I know we talked about Clerks in our Clerks episode. I enjoyed this one better. I don't know what it is. I just like I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
I'll agree
more.
with that. I do
Yeah.
enjoy Friday more than Quirks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the same thought when I was watching it too. I was like, oh, it reminds me a lot of Clerks, especially reading that they were gonna try to do it in black and white to save budget and everything. I was like, oh, even more.
Which I'm glad they didn't. I think there's the
Yeah.
color scheme of that street adds to where the area is. Like the palm trees, the way the color of those houses are.
Yeah.
It really puts you in that setting. So I'm glad they went that route. And yeah, I'm fine with the flashbacks being black and white. 'Cause I'm
Oh, I
like,
love the
they're,
flashbacks
like,
in
yeah.
black.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that
fun.
that's
Yeah,
a
I
great
think
choice.
that was a
Fun
great
combination.
touch. That
Great
like if
choice.
you're gonna do black and white, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was happy they went that route instead of just going completely black and white. I think it would have kind of taken a little bit out of it.
And to add on to like the community sense, the filming locations were like his house, his childhood home that he grew
Yep.
up. He was like, I'm gonna film right here in front of him.
Yeah.
I
It was
thought
that, and I
very
read
funny.
also that the homes that they filmed in were not owned by the director, but by his friends and like his family friends and stuff. So it very much like adds like the wholesomeness that I felt watching this movie.
Yeah, it has something, and
Yeah.
the second one
No,
does not.
no,
Yeah.
not at all.
Well, saying that, let's review this bad boy. Who wants to take the start off with this?
I really enjoyed watching this movie. I put down on my notes that for a movie about living like your day-to-day life and staying true to yourself even when like shit hits the fan. Like obviously he lost his job and like trying to come up with money to pay off Debo. I think
Big worm.
this movie was very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody named Big Snake came by. Big
that guy.
Worm. Yeah, whatever.
Big whatever.
I feel like for the first movie that Ice Cube wrote, it's very funny. I felt like this movie had its heartfelt moments. I love watching the interaction between Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, but also Ice Cube and his dad. I really did. I think his dad might be my favorite character in the movie.
Oh yeah, Dad's the best.
Chemistry between a lot of like the cast members I think was very real and very convincing. And I know they took a lot of inspiration from their actual lives and them growing up. It honestly made me feel like this is a true story. Like the characters and like what they encountered growing up in the hood in LA was very, very convincing that I could see this being a real thing. Like, this is very, very believable to what would happen to a certain extent, obviously. I would give this movie a 3.5 out of 5 poppies for me. Enjoyable.
I'm gonna say the same. I was thinking 3.5, like kind of the whole way. Like it's not. I don't know. I feel like last season, like just to like outside step in, like I feel like last season I went from like being super critical to like kind of a little bit more generous toward the end. So I feel like I need to kind of like refresh, reset. I did enjoy this movie. I know we're gonna get in the second one in a minute here, but I really think that this one is the best of the two that we're gonna talk about. I would definitely watch this again. Like if it was on like a, where would this be on? Like a Comedy Central kind of thing, maybe.
BET.
BET.
I like BET.
So
I
do
haven't
I.
said anything bad. I mean, that's just where I would see it being.
Or Tubi.
Tubi.
Tubi. Or wherever you stream things.
Tubi.
No,
So,
I'm not sponsored by them.
but it's free. Yeah,
Yeah.
3.5. I enjoyed it. I definitely laughed. I chuckled a few times. I mean, like, it's not a perfect movie by any means, but I mean, I had a great time. Like, I know that there's the scene, and we kept talking about the cereal scene, the box that's in the back where they had the effort to change the name. It's not Captain Crunch, but they kept the mascot of Captain Crunch, so it's just Crunchies.
Yeah, it was the same for the milk too. They did the same thing.
Yeah, like
They-
it just
The close up of
pasted
it is
over.
very shoddily painted.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's still Nestle
Yeah.
from a Nestle corporation, but
Yeah, so there's, I mean, like, once again, that's small, like, little, like, you know, prop kind of, like, issues and stuff like that, but overall, like, I think it was very well written. I think, like, in the sense of we have all of these, like, hood films or, like, films about, like, you know, certain cultures or certain areas, if you will, like, we kind of need a little bit of a lighter sense because obviously, like we've mentioned, like, it's not all violence or drugs, right? Like there's also some like high points, especially involving family and friendships. So I really think like this movie was very much needed. But I mean, I don't think it was terrible. It's good. It's good.
I agree. 3.5 for me as well.
Yeah.
Little minor things could have been better, and overall, I think it was a very enjoyable movie. Easy watching.
Yeah, I agree with Easy watching. It's a movie you can just put on and it's enjoyable. There'll be moments that just make you laugh if you're not really paying attention to it. Sometimes it's nice. It's a nice movie to watch. So for all the things that we were saying, like I love that they showed that different side of the hood in LA. That this is like an everyday life occurrence. Not always has to be like these big gang violent wars that they show most of the time, even before that movie had came out. I always watch with my uncle. I've been watching it since I was like 6 years old, so it's always held like a special place in my heart. So I am at a 4 out of 5. I really enjoy this film. I think Smokey's great. I think Ice Cube's great. Definitely appreciation for like Ice Cube writing this, making this happen. And, so I really love this movie. So I'm gonna be at a 4 out of 5. So with that being said, let's get into Next Friday. Different director. I think his name is Steve
Carr.
Steve Carr. He's also came from doing music videos. So that's another
But he also did other movies as well.
movie that I think we talked about like recently too. Like I just
Dr. Dolittle 2,
Oh man.
Daddy Daycare, and Paul Blart Mall Cop. I saw that and I was like,
What a res.
Yeah.
what an
What
intro.
a
I mean, he's
ride.
done other stuff too, but those are like the big names that.
Yeah, that's like his top movies on there. Is like Paul Blart's number 2.
Honestly, though, I feel like I remembered, like, obviously we'll get into it, but I feel like I remember liking Dr. Dolittle too.
I love Dr. Dolittle too.
I feel like I remember liking that one.
Guilty pleasure movie is always Dr. Dolittle for me. All of
Really?
them. I love-
Really?
Never seen it together.
Never seen it together because I've probably watched it a million times.
Oh, okay.
But even to the point, very off topic, where I
Interesting.
also enjoyed the Robert Downey Jr. and
Really?
Dr. Dolittle one. I know it's a terrible movie.
Oh, I
saw
heard
that.
that one was
I heard it was
terrible.
really bad.
It's terrible, but I
Yikes.
enjoyed it. Like, at one point in my life, considered becoming a vet because I loved the Dr. Dolittle movies. And then, the sight of blood does not work.
I
for
didn't
me,
even
so
know you cared that much about Dr. Dolittle.
I love Dr. Dolittle.
I've never heard you mention Doctor Dolittle.
Yeah, guilty
First
pleasure.
time I heard this. But
Guilty
that's
pleasure.
all.
It's not.
In
It's
what,
not.
the 10 years you guys have been
Yeah,
together?
I've
It's
Yeah.
not
never
something I
seen
share
this
with
before.
everyone.
You
Now
just-
it's out
you
there
hold
on the
that in the
internet,
back
but
pocket.
I enjoy the Doctor.
It's under Mooney's like Wikipedia fun facts.
Fun facts.
Loves Doctor Dolittle.
That'll be on the wiki
Ooh, yeah.
soon.
Yeah. She once considered being a vet, but then switched over, and
Yeah.
to something completely different.
Yeah.
now she's an avid Shrek lover.
Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
So next Friday, this one's only written by Ice Cube. DJ Pooh did not help him write this one.
No.
Wish he had.
Yeah.
$11 million budget, box office of $59.8 million, and the cinema score B plus.
Get out.
Which is very
really.
generous for this
I would
movie.
say.
So
I agree, that's
generous.
B
Very,
plus.
very generous.
So
Yes.
generous.
I might give this
Oh.
one a C.
I'll give it like a C minus.
I'm gonna save mine for my.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
wait for mine. Chris Tucker obviously does not return for this film. One of the reasons I have always heard is because he didn't want to be stereotype cast as a pothead. Then that
Yeah.
was one of the reasons why he did not want to return for this, which I wish he did. You know, Mike Epps. I mean, he has moments in this film where I'm like, I don't necessarily
I don't
not
necessarily
like him. He
love
has moments that he's
Yeah.
funny, but I still wish Smokey was there.
Yeah.
That relationship
I'm
was
really
so
upset,
well,
yeah.
especially the way they kind of just like shoehorned the reason why Smokey's like, oh, Smokey went to rehab, and it's like, but the way the movie ended, it is what it is. Obviously, this one doesn't take place in L.A. Debo breaks out of jail. Craig's dad's taking him to Rancho Cucamonga to stay with his uncle,
Shout out to Rancho Cucamonga.
which now that setting, rough. I did not like the setting of Rancho Cucamonga. I think it took
No.
away from what the first one had. It took away that
Yeah.
little spice that it had, and it just now in this like nice neighborhood. I understand the message that they were going for is like you could move out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of yourself. So I understood that, but I still wish it would have been taking place in L.A. again.
I mean, they couldn't go to Europe, so
That was
would've
their
been-
Europe.
That was their
That was their
Rancho
Europe.
Cucamonga.
Yeah.
That's
Rancho
their
Cucamonga,
Europe.
hang out with the Europeans.
Yeah.
Kim Ratio.
Miss Kim.
This
or
was
Miss Ho
also
Kim.
this was their first film, also produced by Ice Cube's production
Yes,
company,
Cube
which is
Vision.
Cube Vision, and I feel like that may have something to do with it not being so great.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's that, but I also feel like one of my biggest things that I didn't enjoy with this movie is I felt like the writing for this one was not as good or as strong as the first one. Like a lot of the things that I enjoyed with the first one was the writing and how realistic the movie seemed. Like I don't.
This one just didn't flow.
Yeah, it was very all over the place, and I feel like there was just so many things happening that I was just like, just so unnecessarily over the top. Like, I agree with you. I wish they kind of just kept it. I mean, Rancho Cucamonga is somewhat local esque, but like, I just
mean,
didn't
It
care.
was more of the setting.
Yeah,
It
I just didn't care for the
work.
Rancho Cucamonga aspect.
I'm
of the
fine
movie.
with the move of it, like it, like because obviously like you need a different, maybe like a different pace of, like for the second one you need to like kind of build off of what you've already created. But I feel like they lost so much, and like there was so many like we discussed it like continuity issues where it's just like okay, well you said one thing in one scene and then or they're wearing something or they're positioned in one and then like they flash back and they're in a completely different state, like or even like in the beginning. Like I think they're talking about like Ice Cube's he arrives at the house and the guy's like showing him around. He goes, "Oh, you like this pool?" And he mentions that like he can't swim, and then you flash forward and like Mike Epps' character is like saying like, "Oh yeah, I remember like he used to scare me all the time when we were going swimming in the swimming pool." And you're like, "But he just said earlier that he couldn't swim." Like whether that's a joke or not, or like he's making shit up because he's high or whatever is one thing, but I'm just like the continuity just like doesn't line up, and like yeah, the writing is just I like once again loved the writing in the first one. I don't know if it was like more of a collaboration between like Ice Cube and DJ Pooh that made it so great, but like this one just did not have like didn't have the same heart. It didn't have the same like dynamic of like kind of characters. Like I guess they kind of tried to put Ice Cube in like somewhat of a fish out of water kind of situation. But like I want to know like what happened to Debbie from the first one. Like they never really closed the loop on that. He's just automatically into this like girl across the street.
They kind of hint at that in the first one, though, that like relationship wise, like everybody's just kind of whatever you want in the moment.
Well, yeah, even she's like, "I'm gonna call you at 7:30," but then
Yeah.
it just like nothing becomes of it.
Yeah.
Like she just doesn't call.
Because like even his crazy ex-girlfriend or whatever with the hair, when she's calling and being like, who's that bitch you're cheating on me with or whatever, there's a dude in her room that's sleeping right next to her. Like she's actively cheating on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is funny.
She had a great theme though. Who that hoochie mama. So also originally, this movie was originally going to be titled Final Friday, but the reason why they didn't go with that was one, they wanted to make more, obviously, and which they did, and then two, because of the Friday the 13th franchise, they were making Jason Goes to Hell the Final Friday, and because of that,
Better movie.
yeah, I mean,
Arguable.
yeah. So that's why they didn't go with that, and again, they wanted to make more. They were
Right.
planning to make 5 of these. That was the original Ice Cube plan.
And there's 3.
There's 3, and there was a
For now.
series, a cartoon
Oh,
series.
yeah, I heard that he wants to make a 4th, but here we are.
I think from what he has said about making a new one, I guess it's Chris Tucker that's just like no, I want a certain amount of money, and the studio's just like, nah.
Well, yeah, because that's the reason I heard Chris Tucker didn't come back is because, like, yeah, typecasting, but he also wanted to be in, like, bigger budgeted movies. So, like, that's why he went on to do, like, your Rush Hour, your Fifth Element, and all those movies because he wanted to make more money. And he did. Like,
Yes.
if you look at, like, the success that he's had with those movies, like, he made way more money. I personally feel like he would have not made as much and like kind of been typecasted into, like we said, like this like hood film kind of thing. Like this had a very like house party-esque vibe
Yes.
to me
Absolutely.
of just like, all right, we're in house party 6 now, like
Yeah.
for what
Yeah.
insert number here.
I agree with that. And I feel like a lot of the scenes, they were trying to like find quotable moments, like the first one. I feel like they were just chewing scenery. They're just like,
Yeah.
let's go, guys. And it's like they're trying to get those moments from the first, and they weren't capturing the same magic. And that's a writing issue.
Yeah.
That's just you're trying to find something that's just not there.
You're
The
pulling-
story
yeah,
wasn't
you're
also
pulling.
all that interesting to me. Like
Yeah.
Debo chasing them and all that stuff. I'm just like, okay, man. Like, I don't know where they could have went with the second one. Honestly, I felt like I really kind of wish Friday was just a one-off, and that's what it was, because I don't know what avenue they could have went anyways. But maybe they could have found a way with Smokey coming back, but now with this one, it's just I really just disagree with all of it. There's moments like was it the music shop?
That was that
That's the highlight
Oh,
for me.
I like
Everything
that.
that happens in
With
Pinky's
Pinky,
Shop?
yeah,
Yes.
Pinky.
the best in the entire film.
I agree.
Like, I can't get jiggy to this shit. And I was like, you been chewing on this CD? There's like chips out of it and shit. Give me my money back. And you don't even have the jacket, man. He's like, I don't need it. Just give me my money back.
And I feel like that was the only scene that I actually really kind of enjoyed and only remember or like kind of mentioned if I ever talk about this movie. The Cholos were annoying. You know, they were just over the top. And like I get it, but there were just so many scenes that they had, again, chewing scenery, where it's just like come on, man.
I hate the beanie over the eyes.
Oh,
Like how I don't understand. Like I know you're like they're trying to do it for the character, but like what sense does that make where it's just like here you can't even see, like even most of the time when he's looking he's like going like this because like
What's the
here.
style?
That was-
I've never seen somebody wear a beanie like that.
Stereotypically,
That
is, yeah.
the style.
is it really?
That
It is,
low?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Like,
insane.
always
It's
like
supposed
that.
to be like
You do the the pirouette? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
you go to like right here,
you know?
and that way you just see the it's just like a stereotypical
Stereotypical,
cholo
yeah.
look, like the little homies.
yeah,
Those like little figs, like they would have like the beanie all the way
The
like down to
figs.
right here.
Yeah.
So that would be like
The
just-
lokes.
It was just very stereotypical
Edgars.
cholos, and it just for me, I'm like, I get it, but like when they had like Mexicans in the first one, I thought it was funny when they just pulling up and they're fucking with Smokey. In this one, I'm just like, dude, that's too
It's
much.
too
It was too
much,
much of
yeah,
them.
it's too much.
It was way too much of
Well,
them.
yeah, and that
they're
was
just-
my like question because I wrote down like a few questions like during this when we were watching it, and I was like, is this movie almost like too stereotypical to the point where like would you consider it almost racism?
you
I think
could.
it's a morally gray area.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's kind of more of like it tiptoes the line of like a satire
Yes.
or like a Don't Be a Menace
Mhm.
type of movie
Yeah.
where it's almost
Yeah.
making fun of itself.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe.
I wouldn't consider it to be a racist film.
No,
I
I'm not
think-
saying
no,
it's
no, no.
racist. I'm just saying like it's like
It
does
definitely
it
hits-
does it go on the verge of borderline like
It does. I
with
think-
certain things
I
like
think it does to a certain extent. I think why I would put this more on like the gray area is because they don't focus on just putting one race in like a stereotypical box, they kind of put other races. So I feel like, and I agree with, I think it's like the whole like, not necessarily making fun of it, but like shedding light to it in a way, but like, let's just go with satire. I feel like that's the best way to like explain it.
No, I mean, because it isn't. It's not
Yeah.
like a parody film,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it felt that way.
Yeah.
It
And I
did.
feel like the first one didn't really do that to other races. I
No.
feel like this one doubled down on something that it didn't have to really do.
It definitely doubled
And
down on it.
like the whole, like, I get the cholo thing, but like over the top, a little too much.
It's a little much.
Less is more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they went fully above the place where they didn't even need to go to. Like, they could have had the cholos there and they could have just been what they were, but like what they were wearing and just some things that they would say, I'm just like, oh man,
Yeah,
like
it
this
was
is
so
rough.
much.
This is
The
rough.
funniest thing about them was that they were all Joker,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
little Joker,
Yeah,
baby
Joker, yeah, big, or,
yeah,
yeah,
big
whatever
Joker,
it was.
whatever. I thought that was funny, just
Yeah.
because like it's just funny.
Yeah.
But that's where the line should have been maybe drawn of like
Yeah.
how far it should
Yeah,
go.
how far is too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They weren't
Especially
just
now
doing-
too. Like if we're going back and rewatching it, like growing up with like now everything is a little more
Culturally
sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Like how is this gonna be in like 10 years, or how is this gonna be seen in 10 years? Like obviously we're fine. I'm just asking the question just for like argument's sake of like, you know, is it too much? Like from an outside perspective, like is somebody who's maybe like 10 now who sees this movie in 20 years, are they gonna be like, oh my god, like did they really like thought we were like that, or like they really, you know, anything, like just for argument's sake.
I feel like the
Throwing
time
it
when
out.
this movie came out was the perfect time for this movie to be.
Oh yeah, like if it were to come out
come out.
now,
I feel like there would have been, given the way like our society is now, where people are being sensitive to certain cultures and being like culturally sensitive, I feel like this movie would not have like its cult following the way it the way it did back then.
yeah,
Um,
like The Neighbor.
there's just
Yeah.
so many things with this movie. I feel like I know we brought up like we didn't like we had like an issue with like the writing. I feel like what was enjoyable about the first one was that it's based on their lives. I don't know if any of them had to go to Rancho Cucamonga at one point in their life. I don't
Or
think
won
so.
the lottery.
Yeah, I mean, winning the lottery is believable.
Is it though?
I mean, the most I've won was like $10, but
Yeah, I was like, who do you know that's won like a big lotto?
nobody that I know.
I knew
But, like,
I knew
people do.
somebody that was continuously winning like scratcher tickets,
Mm-hmm.
like in the upper thousands,
Mm-hmm.
like double digit thousands, just from like he had a system and he was telling me about it. I'm not gonna say it here, you guys figure it on your own. I'm not gonna tell you my secrets, but through you know, I think that playing the lotto is like,
It's not good to draw.
I mean, yeah, if you think that you're gonna win, it's almost in a sense like only certain people kind of really play,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
I mean, like my work will play. Well, they'll be like, oh, everybody pitch in like $5. We'll buy like 50 tickets or whatever have you.
Yeah, you always.
But I
hear
mean,
about
I
that.
don't like go out and seek it. Like every Friday, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go out and buy my lottery ticket, and then I'll do my thing.
Yeah, like that one
So.
office group that was like a big story where they all play every
Yeah.
whatever week or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then one time that one coworker wasn't there, didn't pitch in for it, they all won.
Oh,
Damn.
I'd be so pissed.
That's
Yeah.
brutal. The sex dungeon thing.
So weird.
The
I feel like
ant
it was
was
just very unnecessary.
I was actually fine with this.
I thought it was just unnecessary.
It's like kind of silly. Like, I mean, that was like her. That's her characteristic. So like, I'm not, and I'm also like, okay, as like personal as we're gonna deep dive into this. Like, when I was in college, I worked in a sex store. So for me, like, none of that stuff is like taboo or bothers me, because I know people are really into like, there are people that are into all that stuff. They have a wall of dildos. They have like a, am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, I didn't know for like YouTube's sake if we're allowed to say certain things or
I
not.
think
Dildo.
we've said other
I'm just checking, man.
I think
We're good.
Yeah, you can't say other things, but
Well, yeah, but like
that's
people
a
are,
whole nother
you know,
thing
like, but
where
like the things that they
YouTube-wise-
have, you know, like that she has in their room or whatever, like is nothing that I like feel like I personally haven't seen before. Like, I'm not into that type of stuff, but I've seen it. So it's not really weird for me. It's just her characteristic of like, okay, she's sex crazed. She's sex crazed woman number 12 or whatever. That's in whatever like storyline. Like, it could have been anybody. Like, even like the neighbors, like they're doing their thing with their kind of like into.
I didn't have a problem with that. I just didn't think it was funny. I just didn't.
Yeah, I feel like
resonate
it
with
just didn't
me.
add
I
to
just
the
thought it was
storyline
like-
either.
I think it was funny when what's it, Day goes to show him that they got the delinquency notice, and he opens the door and he's got the little
Yeah, and he's
mask
trying to
on
talk with
through the
the.
ball gag. Like,
Yeah, that was
whoa.
funny.
I
Yeah.
thought that was funny,
Yeah.
but like him initially going in there, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't need like that scene
That's
just
fine.
because like just like didn't bring anything, but I liked from the get go, like as soon as Ice Cube shows up, like she's immediately like, oh, let me see it, like, oh, look at your ass, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can see it, and then they solidify it later with like their little sex dungeon area. So I'm like, okay, like that's fine, like that continues and flows.
Does
through
even
the
the
rest of
uncle
the
say you
movie.
could try that if you want, nephew?
No,
something like that.
because she's like, you're even cuter than your baby pictures, and I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, it's a
And
weird.
then, and then he's like, you
statement.
can have anything in my house, just don't go in my refrigerator and don't put your hand in the sugar, if you know what I'm saying. And he's like, I get you. But for me, there was a lot of like low-brow comedy in it, like a lot of shit jokes. That I
There's
was just
so
like,
much poop.
There's so much like just shit
Yeah.
Literally.
jokes. Yeah,
like literally poop.
yeah. Like he sits in dog shit on the lawn when he falls, and it's just on him throughout the
Yeah.
whole movie.
He has to pull over and
Every
go take
time,
a
yeah, he's in the
shit.
bathroom. They keep doing that, like, oh, don't go in there about 35, 45 minutes when he runs into Stanley.
I thought that was kind of fun because Stanley said it. Like, hey,
I don't even
you
know if that
don't
was
go
the
back in
same
there.
actor, was it? Or was
I don't remember, honestly.
either way.
I don't know.
I just think there was a lot of like,
I feel like in this one, you kind of only have like the small saving grace, which is Ice Cube, because like for him and like the dad, we had such a great connection with them in the first one, and they just had such a great story in the first one that you still kind of care about. Maybe not so much the dad, because like you said, like the poop jokes are kind of just like a little too much. But like Ice Cube, you like genuinely care about him because of the first one, and I feel like in this one, I just kind of like lose the care for it because I just don't know what his end goal is anymore. Like he's just running from Debo. Is that what's happening? Because like, yeah, he gets thrown into stuff. Like we get that in the first one, but I don't really understand. Like he still doesn't have a job. Like I feel like the second one, what they should have done is like get it where like, oh, he actually gets a job, but then like stuff ensues with the job, and like his family intertwines with his like first day, and it's like his first day is a Friday, and like all this stuff. And is this the third one?
Yeah.
Am I writing the third one? Sorry.
I literally had the same.
because
thought.
that was
Yeah.
my thing was, it's 1995 in the first Friday.
Mm-hmm.
This movie takes place 1 week later,
Yeah.
and it's supposed
Obviously
to be 1995, but
2000s,
it's
yeah.
obviously early 2000s.
Yeah.
With the color schemes,
Yes.
this movie was like 100% just brighter.
Yeah.
in
Oh,
colors
yeah.
and like
Yeah.
clothing choices.
Oh,
and
the
things
color
like
of the
that.
house, like that purple.
Yeah, that purple, the pop of purple, pinkies with the paint.
The early 2000 big jerseys that people
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
were was in
like
fashion
they
at the
look
time.
like 3-6 Mafia kind of
Mhm.
like those like color schemes.
Yeah,
and
they
things like that.
completely went away from 1995 and just did it in the setting of what the year took place in. Like,
Yeah.
and the Debo thing too. Like, he says like Debo's gonna get out pretty soon, so I'm gonna leave with my dad. And then we see Debo just break out of jail by
like
jumping
a
like
week
over
later?
the front of the.
Yeah, like why would he
prison.
break out if he's literally going to get out soon?
Yeah, and like that's what
Or is
threw
him
me
getting
off.
out because he knows he's going to break
I-
out?
Or is it not a week later and I missed that?
I don't think they ever actually like established that, but maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
I
how long
mean,
was
what
he
charges?
really in
What are the
jail?
charges?
Yeah, what are the charges? That doesn't even make
What are
sense.
the
either.
charges?
Because he got knocked out. I mean,
I'm sorry.
A succulent Chinese meal?
It just made me think.
no,
of that.
but because yeah, he says that right off the rip. He's like, Debo's about to get out, so my dad thinks I should go with my uncle and Ratchet Cook Among. And then the next scene is Debo just jumping
He's
over the
already-
fence.
Yeah,
and
he's
with
already
with
breaking out.
guy,
Yeah, he's already
and
breaking
like,
out.
I'm gonna go get him, and it's like, wait, but if he's getting out, why is he breaking out?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And then I'm like, and also, why did the cops all show up? Maybe I missed that.
I missed that too.
I said that too. I
Yeah.
said, where did these cops come from?
Like a gang of them just pull up to that place, and they're like,
Maybe those girls like called the cops when they left.
Maybe is that?
'cause he
Did they
pulled out
say
the
that on the way
AK.
out, where they're just like, I'm calling the cops?
I don't know.
no, he just like throws them out, and he's like, call me later, and then he goes back inside, and it's just like,
I did. Okay, I actually did laugh at that because he's like, "Get the fuck out of my
Yeah.
house! Get out of my house!" And he goes, "Call me." Like it was very like, oh, like such a switch. I thought that like that honestly gave me like a little.
Yeah,
Takes
there's,
place a week
Match
after.
okay, so that's
So, like-
it doesn't. There's
Yeah,
things
this
like
doesn't
that,
match up.
and like you said, the continuity things, like when they're breaking out, they get in the dog animal control van,
mm,
and they let out like 6 dogs just to get into 2 compartments. and the one guy's in the front, and
Mm-hmm.
Debo's in the back. And then when they show up, Debo pops out of the front, and the other guy pops out of the back. And I was just like, but you've established there's so much, because half that movie is them getting to Rancho Cucamonga
Yeah.
Yes.
in the animal control car.
Yeah.
And the way that they set up the shots in their individual compartments, they're like looking at each other in that way
Yeah.
for them to just kind of like, fuck it,
Reverse it.
he gets out of this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's so silly, like, because it is something so small, but like, I feel like it's those small things that eventually add up. And then, of course, you have like this movie where like the writing's not as good. You're missing like a key player from the first one. And like, obviously, like the heart and the reason for doing the first one. Because like now, not only that, but you're kind of dealing with like this issue of like violence, like drugs, stealing, like, you know, possible kidnapping and murder at one point. So like you're kind of taking away from what you originally sought out to do with the first one. Like I almost wish that they would have done like, I guess what they do in the third, where he has like his first job and hilarity ensues, and then not had Debo, and then the third one, Debo breaks out of jail and he's like, I'm back and I'm gonna get revenge for you for the first one.
You're just writing a better movie at that point.
Yeah.
Like-
Yes.
I originally thought for the second one, when I was watching it, I kind of wished the second one was more that revolved around him actually trying to find a job. For by next Friday, he's like, I need to find a job by like next Friday or something.
Yeah.
Like see him trying to do better with his life instead of just like, I'm just gonna go hide in Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah, and that
for-
seems strange for him to hide. Like he
Yeah,
had
he
su-
doesn't
you had,
strike me as the
you
type
had
You
su-
already
well,
kicked
you
his
had
ass.
such a build. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that and you had such a build up in the first one of him already being afraid to him finally standing up. Why would he run and hide?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to live to fight another day.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
win some, you lose some, and then just be like, oh no, you won. You better you just run away.
You gotta
run
run
away.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that
After
seems so. It
what I
seems
just taught you as a
opposite.
father, you know.
And then that too, you knocked out the neighborhood bully. The street cred you would get for that
Yeah, is insane.
Speaks on its own.
Yeah.
So for him to just be like, all right, we got to go, sending you to your uncle's in Rancho Cucamonga,
And
send
the
you to
whole
nice
neighborhood saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, so what sense does it? It's just maybe DJ Pooh was the
the driving
the main
force.
star
He
of
was
the
the
writing
sauce.
crew, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was the sauce, and clearly he's missed in this one,
Yeah.
big time, because it's not. It's a rough watch. There is some funny moments, but most of the time you're like, why is this happening? And then Debo gets there anyways, and you're just like,
Yeah.
and even that payoff isn't really great either. When he finally
It's
is in
whatever.
front of Craig, and then the dog just bites him, and then all these cops show up, and you're like, oh, okay, the
Yeah,
end.
it just
Movie's
wraps
over.
up so
Yeah.
like you know
and you're
quickly.
like, and like, yeah, they don't even stick the landing at all. You don't get that Debo Craig rematch. You just get like a kind of funny. Oh, the dog bit him. That was in jail again.
Yeah. I know you mentioned part of the end of this, but like I know in the beginning, they like Ice Cube does like this voiceover narration recap of the first one, and I feel like it's not necessary at any means, especially because
They talk about
They
it.
talk
2
about it.
minutes later, they
Yeah.
bring up the exact same stuff that he was doing the voiceover.
so like why
for.
even recap? Plus like
Yeah.
I don't like
the voiceover was unnecessary.
Yeah,
for
I feel
me.
like it was a lot of like lazy writing for this one.
Yeah. So my question, that was my last question, was like, do you guys honestly feel like, is there a time and space, and if so, is there a specific genre, like, to do a voiceover recap?
Yes.
And like, if so, what separates that from honestly doing like a kind of like a dump of information where you're just kind of like, well, here's your backstory that you need to know, and then at that point you're just telling a story versus showing us.
So one of the genres would probably be like whatever, and all the gin joints and all the
Like a
world,
film noir
like
kinda,
a film
yeah.
noir vibe. But I will, with that being said, there is a movie that's like a mash of genres that's like a sci-fi noir, and that's Blade Runner. Because there is in the original edit of that movie, Harrison Ford has a big like narration of like what's happening in the movie and explaining things. To the point where you get to like the director's cut or the final cut, they've completely removed it from the movie because
Yeah.
Harrison Ford even was like, it's stupid and I'm going to read it stupid and it's unneeded. So I you're absolutely right that at what point is it not necessary?
Yeah.
And I feel like 90% of the time it's not.
Yeah. I feel like, and this is coming from like, from like my very limited, like non-professional, like theater background growing up, where I personally feel like recaps are almost like a film's adaptation of a character's monologue on stage, where you have the character like monologuing to the, like, not necessarily to the audience, but like they're on stage by themselves and they're just like going through their thought process or their plan or their feelings or whatever have you, and they're just kind of going through it. And I feel like that's a recap voiceover narration is the same, like it's their way of doing that, and it just does not translate at all, because like in a theater aspect, like you have nothing else to focus on, and like you're not going to get that voiceover. I mean, you could, but like it just doesn't translate very well. Like there's certain things that theater does that don't translate to film and vice versa. So I don't know, I didn't see it was necessary, especially because like we said, they literally just, they talk about it like right after he does his
It's very
recap.
redundant.
Yeah, like
To
it's
defeat
just,
the purpose,
doesn't
'cause
mean, yeah.
I looked into, and the reason why they chose to do that was to establish why Smokey wasn't there. But that could have been something
That could have been
dialogue
easy,
between Mike Epps
yeah.
and like
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
being like, "Hey, so
Hey,
what
where's
happened to
your
Smokey?
buddy? Yeah, where's your
Well,
buddy?"
this what happened, and then done.
Easy.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't
2
need
lines
the
is done,
voiceover.
it's over.
You move on.
Yeah,
Like,
easily say like he went to rehab.
Something funny though that I laughed at was like, yeah, he went to rehab, and I was like, for weed, and I immediately think of Half Baked. It's like, for weed? I used to just what's his nose? He's dead now.
Oh my
From
god.
Full House.
oh my
Bob
god.
Saget.
Yeah, Bob Saget. He's the other guy in rehab. He's like, I used to suck dick for coke.
That's
You ever
right.
suck dick for weed? And he's like, no. And boo this man. It just
Oh.
makes me think of that. Like, did it escalate? Like, it was a gateway drug, and then now he's doing harder stuff.
Harder, yeah.
I mean,
Or
that was,
was it just
what,
for weed?
2000? Yeah, I was like, it's 2000.
I guess,
Yeah.
because there's like certain movies that have depictions of like smoking weed, and it's like,
The gateway drug.
well, that, and it's like like when he opens the cupboard and big worms in there, and it's like, wait, what? Like, that's not how that drug works.
Yeah,
But they
I
always
don't-
depict it in that way.
Yeah.
And it happens again in this, where he's like fantasizing about what's her nose next door,
Mhm.
dancing in front of him. Like, it's not really how.
No.
how weed is.
Yeah, it just kind of makes. But I guess because it's the early 2000s, like
Yeah.
it's
I
more
like-
taboo then.
I like well, I don't like it,
Yeah.
but like I remember the vacuum scene where they're smoking weed at Pinky's.
We
And
were
he's
talking
about that vacuum
the
and
ingenuity
I,
of-
well, yeah, and I just like looked over and I was like, shoot, like not to like call myself out, but like we would just use like a toilet paper roll and some dryer sheets and just like blow it through.
And
Like
that
a
only kind
window.
of partially works depending on how you're smoking it as well.
It was just such like a like, is this necessary? Are they just trying to be funny? Like I don't understand. Why wouldn't they just go out back? Like
Also true.
questions, so
Yeah.
many.
Because
that
like
have.
I like
Why do
the
they
fact
care?
that the one kid sucks up Mike Epps' lips the first time,
Yeah.
but then
Mike
they
Roach.
keep doing it, and I'm like, all right, you keep hammering these jokes until they're not funny.
They're trying to
and
land something that doesn't.
It's like it was good the first time.
Yeah.
You
Like,
don't have to do it
repetitive.
again and again and
Mhm.
again.
R.I.P. Justin Pierce.
Yeah, I told
Mhm.
you that.
The guy
I
who
like
plays
that
Who
one.
is he? And she did a deep dive and was immediately.
Oh, I
like,
did.
Oh.
Oh, it was so sad.
Oh.
Oh, it's so sad.
Is he the one who plays Roach?
Justin,
Yeah.
yeah, Justin Pierce. He passed away.
Mm.
It's a very sad story.
Didn't know that. I'll look into it later.
Well,
But once again, like, sorry, there's just so many people, like, like, I feel like, I don't know, I almost have like this like thought that like
the Friday curse.
the Friday curse, yeah, like
Friday
I almost have
curse,
because
yeah.
you have like, you know, Tiny, you have like Bernie Mac, you
Mm-hmm.
have Justin Pierce. I feel like there's like 2 girls in the first one that are gone now. Like I think the one girl that who looks just like Janet Jackson from the
Oh,
first one. I want to say she's the one with kidney problems. I want to say she passed away at 48. I feel like somebody else passed away and he was like 50. Like it was just like all of these things. I was just like, I don't know, like maybe
John
you know.
Witherspoon, the dad.
Yeah,
Like-
just throw it out there.
Yeah.
So before we rate this bad boy, what do you guys think of him remaking it with his son? Same concept as the first one, but it would be his son playing.
Ice Cube.
Yeah,
Would he be involved as the dad?
I think that was the rumor going around. He had said that that's what he would have to do now that Chris Tucker doesn't want to do it. He would have to just do a whole
I feel like,
new setting, same house, but it's his kid.
and he would play the dad.
Yes.
I can see it working only if they did it a certain way.
Mm.
Is it necessary? No. But I can see it coming full circle, like with family and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Because there is like a big emphasis on family in all 3 movies
Mm-hmm.
because you meet more of Craig's family, and then in the third one, there's that more sense of community with everyone
Mm-hmm.
working in the same location. So I could see it working and coming full circle of like now it's the story of his son growing up in the same hood that he did, but they would have to do it a very specific way.
Yeah.
Is John Witherspoon still alive?
No, he's dead.
Is that,
I think my only
he might have been the other one then.
maybe. I think my only way of thinking if it could or could not work would it be his son growing up in the hood with what is considered the hood now, like a very in its own way, like gentrified hood.
Ooh, that
Would
would
it be
be
the
funny.
exact? Because I feel like it's not the same as it used to be. Like obviously you don't have
Yeah.
that many like gang wars. I don't really know much about like the hood nowadays, but I don't know. Like I feel like
Nowadays she doesn't.
I mean, the 90s were different.
She grew up in the hood.
Well, I
Very
mean,
far
for like
I feel like it'd be one of those things. Like you'd question, like, did Craig ever make it out of the hood?
yeah, and then that would answer that question.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the one thing I would want to know. Like,
I just want to know if
20
Craig ever got a job
Apparently he did in the third
The answer
one.
is yes.
Yes.
in the third one
Yeah.
because of the barbecue spot.
No.
No.
I guess
You'll have to watch the third one.
Because I feel like it would be. I think it would be an interesting concept if they wanted to do the third one, where Craig made it out of the hood. His son is used to a certain lifestyle because his father made it out of the hood. Nonsense. Whatever. Something happened. They have to move back into the hood, and then it's his son used to a certain lifestyle. Maybe it's suburban America and Rancho Cucamonga. Who knows? But now he has to kind of like go back to the hood and
Where they kind of like make
re-assimilate
the son
life.
more strong
Yeah,
instead of being like a prissy
kind of.
Beverly Hills.
But then
kind of
also like I
thing.
feel like I don't even know how old his son is. Like I feel like his son is almost in his 30s.
Yeah,
at
he's
this
up
point.
there.
They're about
Yeah.
the same age as when they made the first
Mm.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we looked it up, like how old is Craig supposed to be?
Mm.
Ice Cube was 26 at the time that he played the character, but that was I was kind of going into that in my brain of like, how old is Craig supposed to be? Because like he's supposed to have a job, but like you've got everybody riding around in bikes.
I would
Kind of
probably
like
say obviously
the-
older than 18.
What?
Yeah.
I was like, that kind of makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's in a certain situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. For someone his age to be, I don't know. I just don't know enough. But
I feel like the other question would be to your question too, Joseph, is would his son live with him at a certain, however old they're portraying his son?
I wouldn't want it.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't
I
want
would
him
be
to do it.
interested to see
I
how they would
think-
do it, but I don't think it's necessary.
I think at this point he should just do another Are We There Yet?
Great movie.
Anaconda 4.
I mean, they are doing another Anaconda. He could show up.
This time he's the Anaconda.
Or another, was it Barbershop?
They did 2 of those, so
They
we
could
are
do
going to be
another.
doing those
There
as
you go.
well.
Another House Party? House Party 73?
Was Ice Cube in House Party?
No, but I mean,
Oh, I was like, wait,
they
what?
have so many of them shits. Why not?
Tommy Davidson was in House Party, though?
I think I would
Yes.
like to
Think
say
so.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did just do like a remake of it.
Yeah,
That
they
takes
did.
place in LeBron's house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
I think that came out like 2 years
So that was like
ago.
a straight to Hulu kind of thing. or
Yeah, it was
something?
one of those. Yep.
Or he could just do 23 Jump Street.
And I like him.
I love him in
those
Jump
movies.
Street.
I
I
think
do
he's
too.
one of the
hilarious.
funniest
I actually
parts of
liked him
the.
in
Me too, man.
Yeah, Korean Jesus doesn't care about your problems. Like so many little with the sandwich. Like
Yeah. Well, that you were telling me that too when we were watching Friday. You were like, I love just like Ice Cube's facial expressions. Like it
Oh,
says
yeah.
so
Great
much.
facial
and that always cuts back to him. He's like, or he just has like a. He's really good at facial
Yeah.
expressions.
Yeah, just like that
Just like the what?
face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I once again, I feel like just the writing and the acting in the first one is so much better. I kind of feel just like Ice Cube's almost taken out. Like maybe just he was so involved with the production value of this movie that it took away from like him being immersed in like the character, the writing, and the storyline. Because he had like, this is like his production's doing it. He's the sole writer. Like he's starring in it. Like there's just so many things happening that I feel like it was just almost too much, and he should have just stuck to like the writing and portraying. And just
I agree.
Because I don't know if it's like a direction thing, but I could see why What's His Nose did Paul Blart. Because it very much shows in this movie
yeah,
that kind of
Yeah.
humor.
very silly,
Mm-hmm.
very poof.
With that being said, let's review next Friday. What's start us off?
For me, this does not get a high of a score.
Mhm.
I felt a very certain way about this, and I feel like a lot of, like I've said before, the magic in the first one is not portrayed in this one. I would have to give this a 2. And I feel like that's fairly generous, because there are some certain things that happen in this movie that made me chuckle a little bit, but a lot of it is like, eh. So yeah, solid 2.
Yeah.
Go for it, Marissa.
We both. I hate to score this so low, just because I actually really like Ice Cube. I think he's extremely talented. Musically speaking, obviously. Writing, I think the second one, it's hard to say yes to, but the first one I think just did so well. I'm gonna give this a 1.5. Like, it just didn't. It took away everything. I feel like we had to kind of like, we kept going in and out of watching it. Like, I almost pulled a Mooney where I'm just like, okay, I'm just on my phone at this point, because I'm like, I'm just waiting for the story to kind of like go in the direction of like entertainment wise, and I just wasn't as entertained. There was just so many different things happening and so many just uninteresting characters that I just don't care. Like, I didn't care anymore. Like, in the first one, I cared about Craig. I cared about the family. I thought Chris Tucker and him had like this really good like vibe, this bond, this like, you know, and this one, Mike Epps is great. I think he's good in other things. I think he's funny. He has some lines, but you absolutely do not get Chris Tucker like that. You don't get that same energy. And I just kind of threw it. Like, that's why when you guys are talking about like the third one, I'm like, I kind of want to see it, but it might be a little bit before I watch it. So it's just not for me.
Yeah. I feel like the third one kind of brings
and
best of
it
both
very
worlds.
may well. I just like, at this point after seeing the second one, I'm like, I kind of need like a break, and then maybe I'll circle back to it, because yeah, I'm a
I totally get that.
Yeah, I'm getting my 1.5. Sorry, Ice Cube.
As much as I enjoyed the first movie, I really did not enjoy this one at all. I was very bored watching it. I was just not interested at all. Like, from the get-go, I was just like, okay, like, what's happening? I feel like I was just very disassociated from watching the movie. I think it goes back to, like, the very lazy writing. It just didn't make any sense. I kind of wish they gave Craig a better like justice story, which I think you guys mentioned that they kind of maybe do in the third one. Guess we'll find out one day. I think this one was just unnecessary. I feel like this movie really did suffer by not getting Chris Tucker in the movie. Michael Epps he had his moments that I really enjoyed. I almost called him Michael Phelps.
I was
The
going
fact
to
that
say
you called him
Michael
Michael
Epps.
in general
Yeah, I was
was
like
made me
Michael
laugh,
Epps.
yeah. Michael Epps, the actor.
Oh, the actor.
Famous swimmer. Mike Epps. I feel like he was just probably the best part of the film to a certain degree. I'm going to give this one a 0.5.
Whoa!
I really
Damn.
did not enjoy
Damn. So you hated this more than Aliens?
Yes.
It's around the same boat as Resurrection for me. That's how much I hate
I
it.
can see that.
I'd rather watch Alien and Aliens than watch this movie ever.
I'd rather watch Alien Resurrection.
No, Alien Resurrection was dog shit.
It
Joseph?
was, but it was still better dog shit than.
Got
I
some
gave
good
it the
times.
same rating.
Some good times.
Yeah, this movie lacks a lot. What the first one had, Mrs. Tucker. I agree with all of your guys' points. A lot of bad jokes that didn't land. A lot of just the location sucks. It doesn't have the magic. It's just not the same movie. It doesn't have the same feel. The writing's terrible. It's not an entertaining movie whatsoever. The first one is super entertaining, and this one just doesn't have any of that. So I'm at a 1.5. It's not a movie that I would ever kind of watch again. I think I would just skip it and go straight to 3.
I feel like they also wrap up the ending like super quickly and like very like he just steals money
Yeah.
from the house and walks out in front of all those cops, and
Well,
then
yeah,
they just keep the money, and then
As soon as
it's
he was
just
in there,
never,
it was like the cops would already be in there.
Yeah.
Like searching stuff.
well, like, and why wouldn't you just take the money and put it in like your pockets and just come out with your hands up of like, I'm just trying to get out of here kind of thing, or like whatever have you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand
and to
why he
walk
would
by
take
the
that
guy
big.
being arrested and be like, "Yeah, it's my shit."
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Like, I don't understand. Yeah, part of that. And then it just wraps up like the tax evasion, whatever notice that they got. They're cool with that. And then they just have money to
Yeah,
do
they
other
owed it.
shit.
They owed
yeah.
it by tomorrow, and they did it.
Yeah, like I almost feel like the third one, like if we're continuing on with the second one, it should have been like, no, the cops ended up taking the money for evidence, and now we can't pay the like taxes on the house, and then it forces them back to the hood, and then you rehash. Debo comes back, and now he's like trying to do full circle.
You'll just have to watch 3, I guess.
Yeah,
to
I
see.
mean, yeah, I'll have to watch 3. We'll get there eventually, but I feel like they could have maybe taken. I mean, obviously they had 5 years in between the first one and the second one. They could have come up with something a little more concrete.
We need that DJ Pooh fixes bad boy.
Where are you, DJ Pooh?
Where are you, DJ? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching this episode. Always like, subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications so when we upload, you get a noti when we're up and running. So thanks for watching. Leave comments down below. Let us know what you think of Friday and next Friday. And if you have seen the third one, let us know what you think of the third one as well. We will see you guys next week. Later.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Bye.
Even though it's Monday.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, the podcast, a show so sublime. Marissa, Mooney, Joseph, and Ryan signing off with glee. Join us next episode for more sequel revelry.